Welcome back to the Working on the Dad Pod. What's going on, everybody? Today, we're changing it up a little bit. Similar to our Hot Takes episode today, we are doing a dad draft. So we are drafting our favorite movie and TV dads of all time. We're each going to get, I think, 5 picks, but we may audible if we have time left and we still have people on our board. But we're gonna go get back and forth on some dad picks. As always, I'm Alex. With me is my co-host Ethan.
Hey
Ethan, how
everybody.
you doing today?
I'm all right. As no secret to those watching, I got my hair did.
Yes,
I got a haircut.
Looking
I'm not cool about
fresh.
it. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that because my toddler said, "Hey, Daddy, I can see your scalp." So that was really cool.
Hey, listen, here's the thing. Here's the thing you need to say, because my dad is follicularly challenged,
Sure.
as you know,
I do.
much more so than you, right?
Thanks.
He's just slick like a bowling ball up there.
Yeah.
And he listens to this, so that's why I'm hammering it home. I know he listens, right? He'll email me after some episodes, but yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
he always says that he outgrew his hair.
Yeah. No. Anytime
he's 6'2", and he says his hair is 6'1", and that's the problem.
And I think that's a great point. Like, sometimes I just get too sexy for my height, which is when I horizontally come out a bit. You know, it's a fact. It's science. I'm sure it's published in a textbook somewhere. Yeah. But speaking of dads, speaking of dads, we have a new subscriber. My recently retired father just last weekend binged all of our first 18 episodes. And all of them. Well, when you and I last talked about it, he was at 8. He finished the other 10.
I thought it was 8, and then he was like, "I've got to stop." I thought he was just like, "Okay, that's too much."
No, he finished, which is much appreciated. Thank you, Father, so much for the listens. But for your own good, space it out. I can be a lot sometimes, as you know. You raised me. So, I think I'm better in one episode a week doses, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I would think so. But, make sure to, the 2 confirmed listeners that we've talked about, my dad and your dad, please leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts. That'll help us out.
Thank you. Yeah, because that's better than the text message of notes.
5-star review. Yeah. So anyway, let's get into wins and losses before we get too weird here.
Yeah.
What's your win for the week?
Daddy.
I know you like to do loss first.
No, Daddy came prepared this week. I wrote some stuff down, and I'm going to start with my win. Even though she can see my scalp, my almost 4-year-old, my toddler daughter, she noticed that I bought myself a treat on the last Costco delivery. I got myself the 3-pound tub of Starburst.
Sure.
And to moderate, because I actually, by buying the 3-pound tub, I'm doing better in moderation because I am taking 4 Starburst, 1 of each color at a time, as opposed to when you buy an individual serving of Starburst, you get 12. So I'm actually cutting my serving in third by taking 4 at a time, leaving, there we go. So
it's always a smart move.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Especially for something like Starburst. I mean, I've seen people talk about that before of it creates more waste, but getting a snack bag of chips, getting the 12-pack of lunch size chips instead of a big bag, because then you have a stopping point.
Yep. It's a portion control. And
sure.
So my daughter is fascinated by them. She can't have them yet because she's not yet 4. But I have taught her to unwrap them for me, hand them to me, and then she throws out the wrapper. So, I basically get served Starburst and don't have to clean up out of myself, and I'm going to call that a win.
Yeah, I mean that is, when you can make your own little servants, it's been one of the problems that I actually have, right? And so I'll use a visual for those of you watching. For those of you listening, I'm holding up, my 2/3 empty beer glass that I brought out here. One of the problems, as I mentioned before, that a hobby of mine is homebrewing beer. I can't do the thing where I have the kid go to the fridge and get me a beer, right? Because it's in a tap. And like, I don't want them messing with that. I don't want them dealing with that pouring out of a tap, and they can't reach it, which is also sort of by design.
Sure.
But that's like sort of a life goal of like teaching them to like, hey, get that a beer, not too much foam, just the right amount of head, like teaching them that thing, when they're 6, 7 years old, and, they can hone that skill for the next 14 years, because obviously their 21st birthday is the first time they will take a sip of alcohol.
Obviously. It reminds me of that Bud Light commercial where the guy names his dog Wego, and every time he says, "Here we go," Wego brings him a Bud Light out of a cooler.
There you go.
Yeah.
I don't think I would train my dog to do that, because I feel like he's big, he'd bite through it. But anyway, so my win for the week, and this has actually been something that has been going on for a little while, but I've always had other wins that have been more like recent or maybe more impressive, but I could sort of put this one on the back burner. But both of my kids, we'd had some trouble with them getting up in the middle of the night, and a lot of other things with bedtime, with them sharing rooms, that had just become a little more complicated, right? Like, when they were sleeping in different rooms, my wife would nurse my son to sleep, and I'd put my daughter to sleep. I'd read her a story, all that stuff. And then when they started sharing a room, my wife would go in there. She would nurse my son on his bed while I'm reading my daughter a story. And it was still a both of us thing. We have officially graduated to the point of just one of us has to go in at bedtime. We have graduated to one person can be like getting chores done, getting ahead, or just freaking relaxing and drinking a beer or a glass of wine while the other parent does bedtime, whether that's a tablet night with one of the grandparents or whether that's reading them a story out of a book. We've gotten to the point, and we've also graduated. We initially started out where we were putting them to bed and like doing the thing that I had mentioned I did when my son would wake up in the middle of the night, of just like laying down on the floor for like 5 or 10 minutes until he fell asleep, and then exiting the room. We graduated past that too. It's hugs, kisses, good night, walk out the door, everybody goes to sleep. And that is been a huge win, because we've shortened the one person time. We've made it one person, and we've shortened the one person time. And so a night like tonight, I was not on bedtime. I had last night. We just alternate, go back and forth. Obviously, there's some variance. Like if one of us has a commitment or something, we switch it up. But yeah, that has been such a huge, because that was a thing that we were doing when it was just my daughter, right? We were alternating who did bedtime. So everybody got a night off. We have another kid, have new responsibilities. It comes with a second kid. And now with them sharing a room, sharing a space, and both being able to go down, that's been a huge weight off our shoulders. So that's been awesome.
Nice. That's great. Yeah, we shed that much time off of bedtime yet. We're 1-year-old. It has she's going through like, and then other nights it's taken a while, so consistency. But for the most part, my going to bed a little bit faster too. But man, I am jealous of the hug out in person. But boy, that sounds great.
Yeah. What's your loss for the week?
Yeah, so my toddler, I without getting too much into it off topic, for the most part, a pretty bad week. I don't want to bore our listeners with just about and so I've been a little bit on edge, and my daughter has been getting rises out of me a lot faster, and I don't feel good about it. But in the last couple of weeks, she has somehow forgotten what shoe goes on what foot. Or this morning, she forgot how to one, and last night I had to tap out because she remember how to, and I'm just kind of like this is not cute. I realize your different level of attention, but you're just making me slightly annoyed at the moment rather than trying to be cute. And it's been getting a rise out of me. I more, and it's like, we're trying to get you to school on time. I don't have time to teach you right and left foot. 2 years now. What is going on? And then she wants on, and it's like, I've said to her, I was like, if you've forgotten what shoe goes on what foot, then you put on your sister's shoes. Like, she requires someone who knows what feet. And I get into my kind of matter of fact explanation, and it's like, so my loss is essentially my temper and my short leash.
Yeah, and I get that. Like with my daughter, I think she, I always tried to explain it in a bunch of different ways, right? Where she, I'd be like, okay, here's the curve of your shoe, go with the curve, like the curve goes inside, or the Velcro connects to the outside. And eventually she just sort of had to learn it, right? Like she just had to make sure she's doing it. And my daughter's a year older than yours, and we're still going through that a lot, where she just does not have the firmest grasp. She's better. She 9 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10, she gets it right. But that 10th time where it's just okay, take the 2 seconds, figure out what's going on, and do it. So yeah, that is always an adventure.
Yeah. So my loss this week, is I've had a bad week. For those listening, my week has pretty much sucked, and I don't really want to bore all of our millions of listeners with my sob story, but what I do want to say is I've just had a bad week. So I've been on edge. I've been a little short, losing my temper a bit. So my toddler has been getting a rise out of me a lot easier with some stuff that is driving me insane. For example, after wearing shoes for 2 years, she has started forgetting what foot each shoe goes on. Or this morning, she legitimately could not figure out how to put her shirt on, and I don't understand. And I'm trying to get these kids ready for school, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And she starts crying, and it's like, "Yo, you know how to put?" I was like, "Literally, do not cry. You know how to put on a shirt. This is insane. I don't. What's going on with you?" And as of last night, she's totally forgotten how to do a puzzle, and I had to tap out, and my wife had to tap in because I was like, I can't do this.
Just not having that patience.
Yeah. So, it's frustrating because, like I said, I'm trying to get these kids to school, or get them to bed, and it's the things that you've known how to do, how do you just forget how to do stuff? And it's no longer cute because I know you're looking at your little sister and she's 1, and you want to like act like her to get the same kind of like hands-on attention that we give her. And it's not like she's not getting hands-on attention too. It's just obviously one's being treated like a baby and the other's been being treated like a toddler. And it's like, it's not cute. It's just kind of annoying. I want to say like read the room, but clearly like she can't. And, so my loss is that, I'm losing my cool. And, I really don't want to do that, especially to a kid, my kid, whom I love more than anything.
Right.
So, yeah, that's my loss.
Yeah, and I get that. And I want to tell you that it gets better, but, it does, but only in increments, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fits and spurts. Like my daughter still has plenty of that where she wants to be treated like the baby, and she questions, because she's very much in her like rules phase and following rules. Like she very much questions why her brother gets to do things that she doesn't get to do. And I'm just like, listen, when we go to Target and he has to be strapped into the cart and I let you walk through the store with me on the few times that we're not doing a curbside pickup because maybe like we had an addition or whatever. Point being, I'm like, you get to walk through the store. You get to walk through the store for two reasons. One, because when we go to BJ's, they have double wide carts that have two seats for kids. And so you sit in the, but you get that freedom. You get the freedom to go outside with your mom this evening and water the plants with her while I sit there and like wrangle your brother and keep him from going outside in nothing but his diaper. So I get that, but she like, it doesn't completely go away of like, why are things different and not exactly the same for every single person? And the like wanting to be treated like a baby and wanting to be taken care of. So I get that. But my loss is actually a segue into my loss of sort of what I was talking about there. My son, and he's been this way for a little bit, but he's gotten pretty indignant about it, of like, he very much likes to go outside. And I don't have a big problem with that. Don't have a big problem with him wanting to go outside and play outside. Like we've got stuff outside, like a trampoline and a playhouse, and different things they can play with. But like, it's not always time to go outside. Like sometimes it's bedtime, right? Sometimes it's time to eat dinner. Sometimes it's time to do other things that aren't going and playing outside. Or sometimes mom and dad are in the middle of unloading the dishwasher or doing whatever, and they're not equipped to go watch a 1.5-year-old play outside. But 2 of our 3 exterior doors, we have a front door, we have a back door that's essentially straight across our living room that goes out into our backyard. Those 2 are handles, not knobs. Mm-hmm. And so he is tall enough where he can, because his head is about counter height. Right? He's a tall kid. He can reach up, pull it down, and he's figured out how to unlock the unlocking mechanism. He can't reach a deadbolt, so the front door is safe, but the back door is just a handle with a handle lock. And so he will routinely be like, outside, 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 and then he'll just go outside, right? And so that's sort of been the loss, is like having to constantly keep an eye on him, right? And constantly be like, dude, you can't go outside, like having to stand in front of the door, hold the doorknob until he gets disinterested, or at one point, blocking it, taking one of our patio chairs and like wedging it up under the handle from the outside so that nobody could get out the door. And it's just like, okay, like take no for an answer, my man. Like it's very frustrating to have that where he can do that and go outside, because it's one thing to like want to go play in the playhouse, which is fine, which is usually what he wants to do. But there's the very real thing of like at his waist height, we have a pool, and it's like a above ground pool that's been buried. And so the edge of the pool comes up to about his waist. It's absolutely a hazard. We currently, like, our ladder fell apart and we haven't replaced it. So we don't have a ladder that he could climb to get in, but I'm like, he could still like reach over and touch his hand in the water, which tells me he could flip over and fall in. So yeah, that has been an absolute struggle of just being like, listen, respect the boundaries. I don't want to have to like add a deadbolt to this door, because that'll be a whole pain in the butt. Or add like one of those, I guess what I'd probably do is add one of those like little chain locks that's up high, like shoulder, eye height. But yeah, that's been my loss for the week.
I just want to point out that last week your loss was that you could not rely on your 5-year-old to watch, or your almost 5-year-old to watch your 1.5-year-old. And this week, your loss is that you have to watch your 1.5-year-old too much. Is there something you're trying to tell us?
No, it's like,
I'm just kidding.
No, I get it. But God, I get it. I'm not mad that I have to watch. It's just like one of those things where I'm like, I wish there was a scenario in which a locked door and a no like stopped him. And like just the way our house is set up, if I'm like cooking dinner, I have to like I cannot see that door. And if I hear him saying the word outside, I've got to bolt away from a hot pan or whatever I'm cooking to be like, no, you can't do that. Luckily, my wife has been on a really big gardening kick lately. And so half the time she's outside, but half the time she's outside because like he's very much in a mama phase, and it's very much easier for her to be outside doing something and staying out of the way and me watching the kids, because both the kids are like, mom, 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 and like breaking down at her presence. So yeah, no, it's been a headache, but I'll be honest, it's not the biggest loss, but it's definitely something, there are ways around it, but I'm like, I don't want to have to, make additions, security additions to my door just to keep my son inside the house.
No, I feel you. Yeah. So shall we get into the draft? Should we share the parameters and everything?
Yeah, so the draft is pretty simple. We are going to be drafting. We're going to do about 5 rounds. Again, time permitting, we may do more if we both have on our boards. I mean, obviously, I've written down 10. That way, if you draft 5 of my guys, I still have 5 picks left, right? Just in that perfect world. But we're basically going for like best TV dads, and we don't mean like best characters, right? So an example I gave was like Logan Roy, fantastic television character, terrible father. We're looking for television characters that are good dads.
Did you only pick TV? I thought we were doing TV and movies.
No, but TV and movies. Did I only say TV?
Yeah, you because I was like, oh man, I got to reshuffle my board.
I've got some movies in here for sure. I want to say it's probably 50-50. Yeah, it's exactly 50-50 that I've got TV and movies, but it's TV and movie dads, good dads with like qualities that we either aspire to or appreciate or something like that. Not a lot of parameters other than that, but like it has to be somebody, like I said, Logan Roy from Succession. If you don't know that, we'll go through them. We'll evaluate the picks a little bit and have some fun with it. But what we did earlier is I screen recorded the Google coin flip function and then asked Ethan to pick heads or tails, and he picked heads. It was tails. So I have the first pick. So let's get into it.
But we are doing a snake draft, so I have picks 2 and 3.
Yeah, we are doing a snake draft. So I get pick 1, Ethan gets pick 2, and pick 3. That way it's not always just me first. And we'll see. But we have not shared these lists with each other. I think I'm editing this, so when we do it, I'll probably try to throw a graphic up there that just like has like headshots of the various dads, so we can keep a tally on there. But I'm going to write it down so we can go through the picks. But round 1, pick 1. All right, I had a lot of consternation about this because, as I said, I had 10 people written down, and I think if you picked 1 through 5 on my list, I'd be happy. Like I'd be like, that is a great number 1 overall pick. But I am going with Alan Matthews from Boy Meets World.
That's a solid choice. He is on my board.
Yeah.
But why don't you say why he was your number 1?
So obviously, for anybody that doesn't know, Boy Meets World, a show in the 90s, I think it stretched into the 2000s. They had a reboot of Girl Meets World where the primary character is now a father. But it was very much a coming of age series at a time where Ethan and I specifically were coming of age. And Alan Matthews is the dad in the show to Corey and Eric. And he is just, I think the thing that I appreciate most about him, he's always there to support his kids, But the thing I appreciated most about him is like he was never perfect. And when he wasn't perfect, he always owned up to those mistakes. He always had good advice. He was not the sole source of advice. For anybody that has ever heard the name Mr. Feeney, Mr. Feeney was a great source of advice in that show. But Alan was just a great, supportive, realistic, down-to-earth dad who never felt like he was too hard on his kids, but never soft. Just found that middle ground of understanding and getting to know his kids and getting to know his kids' friends. It was a father figure to his kids' friends who maybe didn't have that father figure in their life. So that was just like Alan Matthews. I'm like, that's the kind of dad, I aspired to be, other than my own dad. He was a great dad too. Love you, Dad.
That's a great choice. So as Alex mentioned, I got picks 2 and 3. I also was worried. I was also worried about Alex's choices, and I did text Alex earlier today that I basically blacked out every TV show and movie I liked, so I was freaking out. So I had to do a lot of great dad searches on online to remember and trigger my memory and jog it. What did I see that movie? Did I see that show? So 2 that I did not need internet assistance with. And I'm pretty happy you took Alan Matthews. Great pick, number 1. But I feel like both pick 2 and 3 could easily be number 1 in a draft as well. So with the second pick overall, I am picking Coach Eric Taylor from Friday Night Lights.
He's my number 2. He was number 2 on my draft board. Way to go. Great ball. Fantastic pick. Explain it.
So for those of you who have not seen the TV show version of Friday Night Lights, Coach Eric Taylor is the first-year coach of the Dillon Panthers football team. And not only is he a father to Julie Taylor, who is a freshman at Dillon.
No baby erasure here.
Yeah, but I'm talking about we learned him about
sure. She's
introduced. They've only got one kid.
Fine.
She's a student at the school, and so he's not just a great dad to her, where despite the schedule of being a football coach in a high school division, the largest division in the state of Texas, he's also very much a full-time dad. He has to teach at the school, obviously, so he's involved in her life. He is there for her, and also just he's to coach speak, molder of men. He's a father to all of a father figure to all of the players on his team, to the point where he throughout the series will take risks that could hurt his career and own livelihood to protect his players, and he also will not let certain players get away with things that he knows is wrong. He will always do the right thing, even if it hurts the football team. And Coach Eric Taylor, love you. I'm glad you fell to number 2.
That's a great pick. That's a great pick. The only thing I would add to Eric Taylor is as you mentioned, molder of men. But I think in very specific character circumstances, I'm thinking Tim Riggins, I'm thinking Vince. He actually becomes a legitimate, not just coach, but father figure to a lot of these men, and has to have tough conversations with them. Billy Riggins
also, there's a very famous line in season 2 where was it season 2? No, it was actually season 1, where Smash Williams, the running back's mother, says to Coach Taylor, "I'm not telling you to be this boy's father. I'm just telling you he doesn't have one." And boy, does that hit home for him as a coach and a man and a teacher.
I got to applaud the writers. They created quite a few characters within this show that either had no father figure, mediocre father figures. I just thought of 5 off the top of my head.
Right.
Or bad father figures where he's able to step in and play that role, whether it's, as we mentioned, Riggins, Smash, Vince, Saracen, you name it. He just steps in and is that role. And I'm blanking on the like hot shot young QB that comes in the later seasons, but his dad's like the mega booster.
Something McCoy, JD McCoy,
JD. And it's like his dad's kind of, you know, salted outside of
my third
all
pick,
that kind of stuff.
Sorry, my second pick, number 3 overall, another TV heartthrob, clearly could go number 1 on many boards. I am going with Jack Pearson from This Is Us.
Okay. I have a confession to make.
Okay.
I made my list. I did some Googling myself. Jack seems like a very solid choice. I've never seen This Is Us.
Okay.
Well, I've heard great things, and it's not like I think this is a trash series. It's never made it into my watch schedule. So tell me about Jack Pearson and why he's a great pick.
All right. So Jack Pearson is the father, played by Milo Ventimiglia on This Is Us, which is a show about a family that gets a very unusual start as a family. It is a show that crosses multiple times in this family's life where they're dropping back between older and younger. Yeah. And let's just say, I'm sorry for spoiling the big twist of the pilot for you here, Alex, but you find out that Jack and his wife Rebecca, played by Mandy Moore, are having triplets, and one of the triplets doesn't make it and dies during childbirth. Yet they leave the hospital with another baby who was dropped off at a fire station. So he was so determined to be the father of 3 that he leaves the hospital with 3 babies. One who needed a father. And then throughout the show, you see how he not only interacted with his own father, his own brother, his kids, and all of the trials and tribulations that go through this family and plague this family and tragedies galore, where no matter what, he is a force, even at his lowest point. He is always there and always thought of throughout every character who meets him. That's a guy I want to be. And I'm, like I said, it could be a first-round pick for anybody. And I'm glad I got him as the top choice in the second round.
All right. That's a great pick. I mean, obviously, like, the one thing I've heard about This Is Us is like it's the show that'll tear on your heartstrings if you need a show that'll do that.
Yeah, it does.
And that's a solid pick. I obviously don't have any commentary. I don't know Jack Pearson, but I might be incentivized to put that on my viewing schedule probably after football season, if I'm being honest.
That's fair.
But so now we're at pick 4 overall, my second pick of the second round. I am going to stick it. So we've got 3 TV dads, and we haven't dipped into movies yet. And I'm going to stay in TV.
Okay.
Dad number 4, and this may be a shock to some of you, but I think he is a fantastic dad just because he's a little bit of a goofball.
Okay.
Phil Dunphy from Modern Family.
On my board.
Phil Dunphy from Modern Family. So if you don't know Modern Family is it's a sitcom. It was on ABC for a number of years, won quite a few awards, and Ty Burrell plays Phil Dunphy, who is basically it follows the Pritchett family. And so you've got Jay Pritchett, who's the patriarch, and you've got his daughter, and you've got his son. Phil's married to Jay's daughter. All right. And so you've got all these families, but he's got 3 kids. He's got 2 daughters and then a youngest son. And part of the reason I love Phil as a dad is because he loves being a dad and he loves his kids. Right. And he is often shown as like funny and goofy and wimpy, and I don't want to use the word effeminate, but like not manly, like in a lot of the things he does. He's shown, I remember there's a sequence, right? His son is not what you would call academically gifted.
No,
You know,
no. Luke is not.
he's a mediocre at best student who, like,
Hmm.
graduating high school, no shame in it, but graduating high school is like the highest academic achievement he's going to get. And there's a scene that always stuck out to me that, like, he's at this graduation and he is stoic and he is stone faced. And the reason he is stone faced is because he has spent 2 hours prior crying his eyes out over this moment so that he wouldn't ruin the moment for his son by bawling his eyes out at his high school graduation. And to
Yep.
me, that is just like he finds, like his middle daughter is like certified genius level, goes to like Caltech. His oldest daughter, her career basically becomes being a social media influencer because she's not the best student either. And he just finds these unique ways to love each one of his kids, their
Mhm.
quirks, their personalities, their differences, and like lift them up. And anytime they're feeling bad, he will just come and say something. It's this goofy dude who can trap himself in an unlocked closet for hours on end and
Mhm.
then come back out and like tell his kids something that just like totally like wrecks them emotionally from positive support. So
Yeah,
that is why Phil Dunphy is my second pick.
that's an amazing choice. Like I said, I had him on my board. There's four great dads in that show, but
Sure.
I feel like I always connected the most with Phil.
Sure.
So he was definitely on there.
Yeah.
So I meant to ask you earlier. So are we now back to every other, or is this where you get two in a row?
I think we're doing I get first pick of the third round, right?
Okay.
Like in true snake fashion.
Okay.
So you end up getting the last two picks or something like that.
Yeah,
I
we'll figure it
I don't
out.
know exactly. We'll figure it out. Or
Yeah.
maybe you just get the last pick. I don't know. You should have picked tails. Okay. So I'm actually deviating from my draft board because I like Eric Taylor was my number 2. Phil Dunphy was my number 3. Obviously, you picked Eric Taylor. I'm skipping over my number 4 because I just got like
Well, you want to balance. You want to balance the lineup too. You know, like you might want to go for the flex pick before your tight end. You know, that's all I'm saying.
I understand, but there's not like a lot of utility here. Like number 4, my number 4 on my board would be a great pick. I have a feeling that I might be able to get him in the later round, though.
Okay. Yep.
I honestly think I'm going to get this pick, and he may not be on your board, but he's a fantastic pick, in my opinion.
Okay.
So, third round, pick number 1, my third overall pick, Arthur Weasley from the Harry Potter franchise.
I have him on my board.
Okay, I see you. Okay, so we've got a lot of overlap here. I think Jack Pearson, as a fact that I've never seen This Is Us, is the only pick that's not been on both boards. But Arthur Weasley, so far. But Arthur Weasley is my pick here. He was number 5 on my board. I'm not going to reveal number 4 or unless someone picks him. But he's number 5 on my board. But the thing, and it was as I was talking about Phil Dunphy, Arthur Weasley, for those that don't know, that haven't read Harry Potter, read Harry Potter, watch the movies, whatever. But
don't support J.K. Rowling, though, on social media.
Sure. And like, he is the father of Ron Weasley, who's Harry Potter's best friend. He's also got 4 older sons than that, 2 of which are twins, 2 other older sons, and a younger daughter. So quick math, he's got 6 kids, right? And he works for the Ministry of Magic, which is a UK, branch of the government that only exists for magical people in the world of Harry Potter. But it's clear he doesn't make a lot of money and he's not very high up. And like, they essentially live in, a very thrown together, middle class would be generous house. They don't have a lot. But what they have a lot of is love. And one thing you'll notice, Harry Potter as a character, like his parents are dead. He was raised by his aunt and uncle who don't really appreciate him. And whenever he goes over to their house, he is made to feel like he is the most welcome person in the history of people. And so is everybody else that ever enters that house. That every time that they show a scene, especially in the movies, or they paint a scene in the books, J.K. Rowling paints a scene in the books of the Weasley household, it is a house filled with love. And that obviously doesn't just come from Arthur, that also comes from his wife. But it is something that just like radiating caring and interest in everybody that's sitting down at their meal table, no matter what time. The older kids end up getting married, fiancés, all that kind of stuff, and just making everybody always feel welcome, even when they don't have that much. There's always enough to go around, and everybody has what they need, and everybody's happy, and it's all built on this basis of love. So Arthur Weasley, he's the last of my top 5 that I think could have gone number 1, and I wouldn't have had any issue with it. Granted, you're probably going to think of somebody that I didn't think of that could go in that tier.
So can I also just say a little bit more about Arthur Weasley? For those of you not familiar with the magical world, particularly in at the Ministry of Magic, he actually runs the Muggle Studies Department, and Muggle is the word they use for non-magical humans, who in this magical world, they look down upon. There's definitely a level of prejudice. He also teaches his kids not to be prejudiced against Muggle humans, and more importantly, not to be prejudiced against using the derogatory term mudblood, which is someone who is from a mixed marriage of one magical parent and one non-magical parent. And even though the Weasleys are a historically, throughout like magical lore, one of the few pure blood families, he very much encourages his kids to learn about the non-magical world and be true to who you are. So I just want to say, just from a societal standpoint, he's also just like a very good guy.
Right.
Okay.
He's just a great person.
Yeah.
All right. So that was pick 5.
So now I get pick 6 and 7. Okay.
Yes.
So I am because I am worried that he might be on your board, I am going to take, staying in television for me, Floyd Henderson from the TV show Smart Guy.
Okay, no, he's not on my board, but that's a good pick.
So for those of you who don't know, there was a television show starring Taj Mowry, the little brother of actresses Tia and Tamara Mowry from the hit show Sister Sister. And Smart Guy.
Those shows come on back to back.
No, it was actually, there was a 90-minute magic of Boy Meets World, Smart Guy, Boy Meets World.
Okay.
You got the episode of Smart Guy sandwiched between 2 Boy Meets Worlds.
Okay.
So for those of you who have never seen it, the show is about an African-American family, the Hendersons. Floyd is the father. He is a widower. They've got a daughter, he has the daughter who's an oldest, and 2 sons. One son is like 6 years younger than the other kids, but he is a certified genius. To the point where he took an IQ off the charts. And the premise of the show is that he's in high school with his 2 older siblings, despite the fact that he's 10. And what you have is you've got a guy in Floyd who is, one, a widower, raising 3 kids on his own in Washington, D.C. He is a self-employed contractor who specifically works in roofing. There's DC is a very incestuous city with regard to business practices. So it is very tough for a self-employed black man to get a lot of business in DC. So the fact that he was doing so successfully in the late 90s, early 2000s is extremely impressive. And he's also dealing with a little boy who is so specially gifted that he's got to help him navigate being 10 in high school. And so Floyd Henderson, you're dealing with so many problems that individually would be tough for a dad. And you're always there, even though your son is a literal genius. You find ways to teach him lessons. and help him
Well,
navigate through life. So, like Floyd
yeah.
Henderson, thank you for staying on the board as long as you did.
Yeah, and I will say I was not as big of a Smart Guy fan as I was Boy Meets World, but I do remember that. Like I remember sort of the premise of Smart Guy being, obviously the kid's smart, hence the name, but like the
Sure.
social adaptation, and his
Mm-hmm.
dad really helping him with this idea of like you are like 10 years old and you gotta like navigate the rigors of high school and all the drama and stuff that comes with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, heck of a pick. Heck of a pick.
Thank
Not on
you.
my board, but that's not a knock on him because I think
Mm-hmm.
I've still got 6 people left on my board that haven't been mentioned, and I think he's up there. He's in the conversation. So
All
anyway,
right.
you got pick 7. Take it away.
So, you know what? I'm actually going to deviate because I do have a feeling that this guy isn't on your board. So I might be
Okay.
able to steal him later. So, with a last second pick,
Okay.
number 7 overall, I am going with Eddard Ned Stark from Game of Thrones.
Was in consideration. Not on my board, but was in
Okay.
consideration. Okay.
So
Yeah.
for those of you not familiar with the book series, A Song of Ice and Fire, adapted into HBO's Game of Thrones, and then later House of the Dragon, Eddard Stark has a reputation in a world that does not have social media as the most honorable man in the Seven Kingdoms. He is a father of 5. He had to assume the role of Lord of Winterfell and Warden of the North at age 17 after his dad and older brother died. And he would rather risk tainting his reputation and will honestly like sacrifice himself to protect his children. And without spoiling what I find to be the greatest story told to mankind based on anything I've ever read, I just
Okay.
want to say that Eddard Stark, whose house words are "Winter is coming," which it should be loosely interpreted to "always prepare for the worst," is a man who does nothing but prove that he is honorable. So Eddard
Yeah.
Stark, welcome to the board,
He is
7th overall.
like that show is full of scheming. That
Mm-hmm.
full show is full of backstabbing. That show is full of people who are talking out of both sides of their mouth. I mean, that is the whole thing. It is a game of thrones. People are trying to get that throne. He's like the one person who's like, no, this is my job. Like as a
Mm-hmm.
lord below the king, that's my job. My job's not to sit on the throne. I don't need.
Mm-hmm.
This is my job. This is my role. This is who I am. This is what I got. These are my values and all that kind of stuff. And so yeah, it does stick out. And I won't spoil too much going into if you never watched Game of Thrones, like
You should.
congratulations, all 10 of you. Um,
Yeah.
but like yeah. So fantastic pick. Fantastic pick. Like I said, he was in consideration for my board. He didn't make it because I got a couple others. Honestly, I'm like looking at my board and I'm like, I probably could have put him in there. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, we got the 8th pick. All right, so 8th overall, round 4, pick 2. All right, I'm going back to my number 4. All right, just in case you still got him, because I've still got some what I think are heavyweights.
Okay.
But I'm actually going with. I'm going back to TV, and I'm going with a. He's not technically a dad, but once I say his name, I think
Mm-hmm.
you'll agree that he is a dad. Uncle Phil from The Fresh Prince of Bel Air.
Yep. Not on my board, but
he is a dad. He is a dad to his kids, but like not to Will, which is like the peak relationship that I am focusing on here. For those that aren't familiar, Uncle Phil, he takes in his nephew, Will, played by Will Smith. Also, the character name is Will Smith. After he gets into some trouble in Philadelphia, and they live in Bel Air, hence the name, the Fresh Prince of Bel Air. But he is a tough love expert. And that's part of the reason I put him on here, where he is both understanding and compassionate, but he takes no BS, right? He doesn't take BS from his kids. He is a judge by trade. And so I think he hears it all during the day. And then, excuse me, he comes in, to his house at night, and he just has certain expectations, but he always has his kids back, right? Whether it's his own son, his own daughter, or his nephew Will, he absolutely always has those kids back. And there are several scenes that just always stick out. They get shared on social media a lot, but there's one where Will loses basically every cent he has to a pool shark. And he goes to Uncle Will and he's like,
I love that
well, what do I do? And Will goes in and he hustles the hustler. Basically acts like he's never played pool before, gets down a bunch, plays double or nothing, and then wins it all back by absolutely smoking him. And then there's another scene where Will's biological dad, who was not in the picture when he left Philadelphia, comes back, reconnects with Will, and Will is like,
he wants to be with his dad. Yeah.
He wants to be with his dad, right? A very normal human interaction. And his dad up and leaves again and shows that he's not a very good father figure. And Will's crying and says I think the line is something like, man, why does nobody want me, man? And Uncle Phil just opens his arms. I don't think he even has to say I want you. He says something to the effect of that's not true or whatever. And he opens his arms and they just hug. And it's just that's his dad, right? Biological father left the room. That's his dad. And he's not a stepdad. He's the dad who stepped up, as that phrase or T-shirt that I see on social media a lot goes around. But that's kind of what he is. He's obviously not a stepdad. He's an uncle. But yeah. So Uncle Phil, my second Phil in my Phil heavy draft.
Yeah, nice. But I do take exception to you saying that he's not a dad. Like when you introduced your pick, he is a dad. He is not Will's dad.
Yes, he's not Will's dad.
He fits the parameters that we set. That he is a father. And that is his job.
He is a father, but if I just but everybody calls him Uncle. He's not. Calls him Uncle Phil. So that's
he's not the titular character's biological father. But
right, that's it. Yeah. He is a dad, and he's a good dad to the other kids. But it's a relationship with Will that obviously takes center stage for good reason. So this one is actually going to be a dad. I'm going to say his name, and I would guess. My rough guess is 80 to 90% of you are going to be like, who? But you're not after I finish. My next pick, my fifth pick, is Daniel Hillard. Also known by his alter ego. Also known by his alter ego, Eugenia Doubtfire, from the movie Mrs. Doubtfire, played by Robin Williams, the late, great, fantastic icon Robin Williams. Always made us smile. But there is no chance that I was going to leave him off my board. Granted, he was number six. But there was no chance I was going to leave a man who's willing to sabotage his children's entire nanny search and dress up like a woman for however many hours per day, however many days per week, just to be close to his kids because he didn't get the custody he wanted. He was literally I will do whatever. I will make you think that I am the best person at taking care of our kids, even if you don't think that it's me. And it's deceptive and it's kind of wrong. And there's a lot of red flag. There are a lot of red flags. And that's why the dedication to dadding and loving his kids, second to none.
It's a fair point, but for all of the red flags, I just didn't even put him on my board. He showed up on all of those internet lists. He is it's a fine choice. It just, it wouldn't have fit my team culture in this lineup that I'm trying to build. That's all.
Okay, fine.
Okay. So I guess this is the last pick overall. I think we're doing 5, and then we'll do some rapid fires.
Let's do that.
So I'm pretty sure I'm going to say the name. You're going to be like, Dubs TF. But I feel good about putting him at slot 10 when I explain why. And I think he's honestly a steal. And I knew he'd be, so I'm pretty happy about that.
Okay.
We are going with, in the final pick of the dad draft, pick number 10 overall, Guido Olafiche. The father in the movie Life is Beautiful. Now, if you have not seen Life is Beautiful, it is a story about an Italian Jewish father and son who get put in a concentration camp by the Nazis. And Guido, the father, does not want his son to know that they... the mother is in a concentration camp too, but they were separated male-female. So the father does not want his little boy to know where they are and what they're doing. So every day he has his son play, sleep, and hide and seek in their concentration camp bunk. And then every night he plays with him and tries to show him how beautiful life is. So what this guy does is literally pretend he's not in a concentration camp to keep his son's innocence alive. And you must see that movie. It won Best Picture. He won Best Actor. Yeah, it is so good. It is very sad. Like, definitely.
Yeah.
You know,
that's not a pick me up kind of movie, but that's just.
But the fact that you are watching 2 hours of concentration camp living, and you are just so happy to see a little boy play, and it's just like, how did you make this happen? Guido Olafiche.
No, that's a fantastic choice. I didn't make my board because like This Is Us. I haven't seen it. Yeah. But like This Is Us sounds like it's going to tear your damn heartstrings out. So kudos to you, because like that's a Tom Brady right there, a late round Hall of Famer.
Thank you.
So that's a great pick.
I was confident that you hadn't seen the movie. I don't know why I was so confident, because you like good movies, and this is a great movie. I just it's niche enough where like maybe you missed it because of how when it. I think you were like
dads out there too, but yes,
true.
It's a good one. All right, so you want to go first? You want me to go first with some rapid fire? The rest of your board, I've got 4 guys left. My 7 through 10. I actually was able to get 5 of my top 6 in the draft. So I'm happy about it.
My board actually has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 more. Only because all right. So Ted Lasso from Ted Lasso. I was hesitant to pick him because he is a great dad, but at the same time, the premise is that he moved from Kansas City to London. So like it kind of starts with like leaving your kid.
Yeah, I get that. So he was on my board, right? And so because he was one of mine on my board, the biggest thing I'll say is like at the end, he, like not to spoil it, but like he puts himself front and center at the end in like a move that like conceptually and financially doesn't make any damn sense.
Yeah.
But good for him. So yeah, he was on my board. What you got?
Okay. I've got Barley Lightfoot from the Disney Pixar movie Onward. He is actually not a dad. He is an older brother in a family that lost their father. And throughout the story, you realize that the little boy or the little brother actually had a dad all along, and it was his older brother. And as an older brother, that movie gets me. I think it's a top 3 Disney Pixar.
Hello to Ethan's binge listening, apparently now absentee father. No, I'm kidding.
Indeed. I've got Noah Levinson from American Pie. I was never going to pick him, but just shout out to like you always support your son. Through thick and thin. That's what I'm going to say. Like you love being his dad.
I mean, Johnny Rose also came up in some of these searches I saw.
Oh,
so, Eugene Levy, very great at playing a supportive dad in awkward circumstances.
I've got Carlisle Cullen from Twilight. Now, you're probably thinking, isn't that dude a vampire? The answer is yes. but he starts an entire coven of vampires that are quote unquote vegetarians who do not eat people. That's solid, man. That is like you are raising a change. You are being the change you want to see in the world. You are the Gandhi of vampires. Get it? I've got Scott Calvin from the Santa Claus. I have not seen the new Disney Plus show, but like the dude avoids being Santa Claus for as long as he can because he liked being a dad. So you know what? Yeah, on the board. This one you will have no idea who I'm talking about, but this is Mohan Vishwakumar from the Netflix TV show Never Have I Ever, which is a fantastic show. But you learn in the very first episode that Mohan is dead, and he, as the father, is actually assumes the role of her conscience throughout the show. And It's a very great show. It's very funny. It's about a little Indian girl and her friends in Southern California, where I'm from, in like the town actually where I grew up. And it's just it's them just kind of like learning about life, and so he's great. I've got Daniel Covey, who is in the show or in the movie series To All the Boys I Loved Before. He's also in the spinoff TV show XOXO Kitty. Another father of 3 daughters, who's also a gynecologist, whose wife, he's a widower, and he's just got to navigate raising 3 girls. But he also, knows the most about their sex life because he's a gynecologist, so that's kind of awkward. Henry Dashwood, played by Colin Firth in the Amanda Bynes movie What a Girl Wants. Dude gives up his political career to be a father. Got Randall Pearson, son of Jack Pearson, another This Is Us character. I didn't need to pick him, but, watch the show, man. And then 2 uncles who are, or not technically an uncle, but Alfred Pennyworth from Batman. That dude stepped up as a father like no other.
Okay, I like that. I like that. I like that a lot, actually.
And then Ben Parker from Spider-Man.
Uncle Ben.
Yeah, Uncle Ben. So those are some dads, father figures that I scouted that I thought would be a good cultural fit if I needed like 2 or 3, maybe a backup wide receiver. That's what I need.
You are digging into the roster metaphors there. All right.
Yeah.
So I like all of those. Surprisingly enough, Ted Lasso, I've got 3 more because I only did a top 10. You went crazy. Good for you. But Ted Lasso was actually the only overlap. My other 3. So I've got 3 more before we wrap this up, get into a little working on the dad bod. All right. Number 7 on my board, Brian Mills from the Taken franchise. Because holy crap, how is that not a good dad? He literally will kill everyone in his path to get his daughter back.
So I thought about him, but isn't the whole problem that he's like not a great dad to begin with? Like, isn't he like not like isn't he like an absent father and then like really steps up? Like, I'll give him that, but
this is why he's number 7. This is why he's number 7. This is why he's an undrafted free agent, Ethan. Like,
all right.
He's got some red flags, but he's also got some strong skills. Plug him in the right system. See what he can do. Okay, he's a
system dad. He's a system dad.
He's a system dad. All right, my number 8 is Ted Lasso. My number 9. All right, and my number 9 was Mufasa.
Okay,
from The Lion King,
on a lot of internet lists as well.
Obviously, he dies.
Sure.
Spoiler alert to anybody who's never seen The Lion King. But he is such a strong father presence that he is literally guiding his son from the stars as his son goes back. His son had to be like 1-2 years old based on like cub biology when he lands with Timon and Pumbaa. And that kid matures, grows a full mane, all that stuff. He goes back. He's still guided by his dad's message. I'm like, that is a solid dad where you can like impart enough stuff on your kid in the early years that lasts with them. And my last pick, similar to Brian Mills and what they will do. This is a dad with flaws. Okay. Marlin from Finding Nemo. Yeah. He went across the ocean for his son. He is a helicopter parent of the highest order, and it is terrible. And he needs to work on it, and that's part of the problem. And it's part of the reason that Nemo felt he had to go out to that boat and got caught in the first place. I am not absolving him of that, but he is a clownfish that swam across the ocean, not just once, because he did it twice to find their friend who helped him on the first voyage in the sequel.
Sure. I've seen.
Oh, again, no, you swim across an ocean, you make my board.
Okay, you know what? That's fine. That is hustle. That is some drive. That's some of the some of the X factor intangibles that you look for in a special teams dad. I get it. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Fine. Whatever. Definitely flawed, but this was a really fun exercise because I think it was really great. Just like kind of talking through how these dads were written, some of their flaws, like why we picked them. Yeah. And, I went really deep in just having this board because I was actually afraid that and I guess mathematically it wouldn't have mattered, but I had thought we'd pick the same 10 and I also didn't, I didn't number, my board. I just had them all listed. I just had this list looking at them because I did want to get a feel for my roster as well. So
I think for me it's just I had well-rounded players, utility guys that just you throw in Alan Matthews in just about any dadding scenario. You're comfortable that he's going to win that one-on-one battle, right? And all the way down to Arthur Weasley, all right? And that's why, like I said, by the time we get to 6, we're in the Daniel Hillards of the world. We got Mrs. Doubtfire. You're dressing like a nanny. Brian Mills, Marlin, Mufasa, Ted Lasso, all flawed. But my top 5 were Alan Matthews, Eric Taylor, Phil Dunphy, Uncle Phil, Arthur Weasley, and I will fight anyone that has a bad word to say about him. Right? I'll come after him.
Yeah, I think we did this great. I'm happy with the research I put into this. Yeah. And so one day somebody will make a movie about this podcast, and hopefully one of us will make a big board.
Yeah. All right. So should we get into working on the dad bod segment? And I never nail that.
Yeah, no, you're just that guy in the movie that gets paid extra for saying the title. So it's fine.
Cool.
Cool. As to be expected, I kind of alluded to it a couple episodes ago, but Alex was super proud of himself for going to a wedding and practicing self-control. I figured that was not going to be the case. I went to a wedding. It was also my birthday weekend. I was the guy toward the end of the cocktail hour that was taking 2 crab cakes at a time because the servers told me that they needed to get rid of them, and I was happy to oblige. So between the birthday and the little bit of so the wedding, my actual birthday, terror in the world, some stress eating. I went from last week's 180 shooting up to 192.6. I'm pretty sure I'm going to go back down in my fluctuation. I think I just had a little bit high.
Wait, what were you last week? Because you just said 180.
Sorry,
you just made it sound like you gained 12 pounds.
Sorry, I misspoke. It was 189, and now I'm 192.6. I think that is. I explained the fluctuation there, and I'm pretty sure when I go back down to normal, I'll be okay. But yeah, I mean, I did it up for my birthday. Like I said, the wedding, the wedding was in Eastern Maryland on the shore right up at the Chesapeake. So they had an oyster shucker who got the oysters that morning from the water. And then the crab cakes also very, very local crab. So
nice.
I did what I had to do. Yeah.
Yeah. You tasted it, you tried it. You decided when you were satisfied and you said, F all that, I'm going back.
Yeah, exactly. I was like,
you know. Um,
I wasn't gonna let let the food go uneaten. It was my job as a wedding guest to help.
so so help me. I, Ethan, will give myself diabetes and a clogged artery before I let food go in the trash can. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
It's important to celebrate, and it's important to I don't want to say learn from those moments because that puts it in a bad light that you like definitely did something
Yeah,
wrong.
no.
Like
No.
we've all got to live. We've all got to do
I
that. But I
I
think my
also
motto has been just like not turning a bad, planning around it, right? Like
mhm.
trying
Oh yeah.
to, I mentioned when I went to a wedding, I walked 2 miles. Is 2 miles going to erase whatever I do at the wedding? No, but it's going to make me feel a little bit better. And it's going to be
No,
200 calories that
I,
happen.
I was at nearly 25,000 steps that day just from the dance floor. So I like
There you go.
it was fine. I
Yeah.
danced my caboose off.
Well,
Um,
and that helps. And that's why I
yeah.
think probably what you're going through is similar to what I'm going through. So like last week I was at 182.4 and this week I was at 185, right? And so it was a similar gain, right? I don't remember exactly what your
Yeah,
difference is, but my
216. Yeah.
delta's my 2.5 pounds, and I think I could make I was not laser dialed into my calories, but if we look at 2.5, 3 pounds, 3 pounds is 10,500 calories extra over a week, right? If we're just talking about true like body weight,
Hmm.
um, that's a lot. And I was, I maybe went 250, 300, at most 500 over a couple times. But where I think it happened, and this could be the case for you, and I hope people don't get the wrong conclusion for this. I have mentioned before when we were started this segment, that I focus very much on protein because it leaves me satisfied.
Hmm.
It also helps me, in my goals to build and or retain as much muscle as possible. I try to make sure, and I'm not downing 200, 300 grams of protein a day, but I am trying to make sure that, I'm not neglecting my protein sources. And over the last couple of days before this weigh in, last night, we were supposed to cook one thing. My wife wasn't feeling great. I was picking up the kids from my mom's house, and she audibled to a local restaurant that has a 99-cent kids' night. And so I probably had a little more sodium and a little more carbs. And I think I had a little more carb heavy dinner the night before. And maybe the night before we had like a pasta dish that had a lot of protein, but it also, like, I think my carb to fat ratio was higher than it normally is. And that's not to say that carbs make you gain weight. I don't want people to gain that, like to glean that thing. Calories in, calories out. Like when controlled for calories, it doesn't matter what style of diet you're on.
Right.
But what carbs can do in a very short window, like I'm talking about 2 to 3 days, if you have not been eating carbs, and it's one of the reasons that you get a lot of confirmation bias on low carb diets, is they can make you retain water a lot easier, right? When you up your carb intake as a percentage of your calories. And so I think that's what's happened. I've eaten a lot more sodium, and a lot more carbs in the last few days, even if I'm only over my calories by two to 500, let's say. It's like that's not even going to add a pound, the calories,
Yeah.
the raw calories. But it is one of those things where, and I'm in a strength phase, like a pure strength phase of my workouts, which means I'm burning less calories and I'm sweating less,
Yeah.
right? Because it's the 3 rep sets with 2 minutes of rest in between them, not something that's getting my heart rate as consistently and getting the sweat out. So I'm like, very much feels like a case of water weight. And because it's only 1 week, I definitely am not going to make any changes. But that's why it's important to track the changes over time, where it's like, okay, it's been a month and I'm still 5 pounds over where I was a month ago, and it's just kind of been climbing. Or am I 2.5 pounds over where I was last week? Well, let me see what happens if I have a normal week without going crazy in the opposite direction, right? I don't want to
Right.
penalize myself and, like, deprive myself of carbs or try to do anything drastic or up my cardio or try to add in, 5,000 more steps a day. Like, just have a normal week and see where it goes, because again, it's a journey. And like, I'm not in a big hurry to like get to a certain goal weight or a certain goal size. But as we're in mid-October, the thing coming down the pike is we're going to have the holidays coming up, the winter holidays. For you especially, it's going to get colder, less incentive to be outside walking around as much. And I'll be interested to see how we navigate through that, because that is always sort of a problematic, I'm going to have a second, third slice of pumpkin pie. I'm going to have more mashed potatoes. I'm going to, add on gravy to every single thing I see. I'll be interested to see what happens.
Yeah. No. I just got to do better at prioritizing my breaks during the day, which have been fewer and fewer. I've been working pretty hard, and less time in between tasks. The emails keep coming in, and even on some calls where I am just I'm just a listener and not like a super active participant. I'm usually doing something else. So at my old job, there were opportunities where like I'd be on a call and I know for a fact I was not going to talk for the entire hour-long duration of the call, so I could listen and like do a workout on mute kind of thing. I'm a lot busier now. So
yeah. That's tough.
Yeah. But yeah, hey man, this was super fun tonight. I hope that everybody who listened, all 5 million of you, think about the dads we chose, and if we left any of them out, please leave a comment on YouTube. Yeah, let us know what dads should be up there. If you have any issues with our picks, please let us know and why. Honestly, if you want to debate, throw out your own dads, please.
There's some old school dads, right? There's some old school dads. Think like the what's his face? Leave It to Beaver dad.
Ward Cleaver.
Ward, thank you. Like Ward Cleaver, the dad from Family Matters. You've got
Mike Brady.
Andy Griffith. There's some older ones that. But if there are ones, I saw some that were like George Bailey from It's a Wonderful Life. I'm like, he's a crap dad. Like he just has a near-death experience. I'm over that. That's a terrible pick. But debate us in the comments. Tell us we're crap. All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining us for Working on the Dad Pod. Like and subscribe everywhere. We will see you next time.
And hey, Dad, thanks for listening and watching. I love you.
Yeah, thanks, Dad.
All right. Bye.
Thanks for working on the Dad Pod with us. Any resources that we mentioned during the show will be in the show notes. If you have questions, thoughts, or just want to talk with us, the best place is in the comments on YouTube. We're on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Threads at Working on the Dad Pod, and on Twitter at Working on Dad Pod. Following and subscribing is always appreciated. Please rate and review us. That helps get the show to new people. And if you know a dad who would enjoy our show, sharing it with them is a huge help to them and us. Have a great week.